And we are live. Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. The best moderator in the game is back again, Mr. Strat Daddy here. We have the master of hair, Jason Pritchard. We have Captain America. And then we have Adrian. I don't have a nickname for you yet, bro. I'll get you one.
Adrian's hair looks pretty good too, dude.
Rico Suave, dude. Rico Suave.
shit,
Bro,
man.
okay, Rico Suave, bro. Rico Suave fits. I mean, look at that shit, bro. That shit's smooth.
You guys are too much. I love it.
I think I've seen your work on Entertainment Tonight or something like that. You're already in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
I've seen you before.
OnlyFans, dude. It was the OnlyFans.
Oh my God. But welcome to the Deal Champs podcast, guys. Our mission here at Deal Champs is to empower and inspire our listeners by highlighting real deals, real investors, real entrepreneurs from around the country. We're lucky enough to have Adrian on today. He's got an amazing story. If you guys are listening to this on the podcast app, go give us a 5-star review. Go share it with all your friends on social media if this brings you any value. Our number one goal on this is to give actionable steps, and I learned something from every podcast, from all of our guests that I can go implement in my life and or my business. Real quick, my name is Stratton Brown. I own a real estate portfolio that's about 7 figures. We wholesale a couple of houses here and there. We own some self-storage, our VA company, and then we help wholesalers do their first deal in real estate. And then we have the master of hair, great beard on today. He's got the silver sleek going, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
What's up, everybody? It's Jason Pritchard. For those of you that don't know me, I started in corporate America, worked in corporate America for 15 years. I went full-time in real estate in 2014 and haven't looked back since. We've flipped and wholesaled almost 400 houses. We own a rental portfolio of just over 100 units, mainly in Central California. And our goal and my mission is to try to transfer as many of the things that we've learned over the last 8 or 9 years to all you guys watching, right? Real estate has absolutely changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm really excited to hear what Adrian has to say. He's doing some really big things today, man. So, yeah, I'm ready to jump into it, man.
Hell yeah. And we got Mr. Captain America, Dean Rogers. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth.
What's up, guys? So Dean Rogers here, one of your co-hosts. Transitioned from the NFL to corporate, then to real estate. Been investing in real estate in Central California now for a decade. And Stratton, last week I updated. I've done over 550 deals.
We're getting close to 6, man.
Based on what I got in the pipeline, I'm going to be real close to 600 without doing another deal. So getting close to 600, rental portfolio right around 10 million, and been coaching students how to get started and create successful businesses in real estate. And you can always connect with me at deanrogers.com. And lastly, guys, if you're listening to this, we have an absolute stud of an investor on Adrian Hernandez. If you guys have questions, make sure you drop those down below. We got some good stuff to go over today.
All right, now, Mr. Rico Suave, the man. I see you on TV everywhere. Entertainment Tonight. Give us a quick introduction, Mr. Adrian Hernandez.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Right.
You guys are awesome, dude. You guys are awesome. I love how much fun you guys make this. That's cool. First and foremost, thank you guys. Appreciate all of you. You guys, my name's Adrian Hernandez. I got in the business at a very young age. Started off as an agent, then became a manager, then owned a brokerage, then was a sales trainer. All to realize that wasn't what I wanted to do. Transition into real estate investing, and from there haven't looked back. We flip properties. I own a wholesale company, SoCal Buyers, and then at the same time we have Airbnbs. We're actually doing ground up development. Just got into that, taking advantage of SB 9 and SB 10 in the state of California. So started diving into that, and now we're teaching agents how to go from being a normal agent to really transitioning to knowing all facets of this game, right? Because most agents know about working with buyers and sellers. So I'm stoked to be on. Thanks, guys.
Dude, what a good name. Bro. SoCal Buyers, dude. That's legit.
How much was that domain?
How'd you get that?
Yeah, it was nothing, dude. It was like your normal cost domain. It was
wow.
Dude, you got it right. Right time, right place.
Yeah, that's right.
Good, dude. I like that.
That's awesome. Hell yeah. We've added everybody in our groups. We don't have any announcements. If you guys are watching this, let us know where you're from. Let's get some interaction in the comments. And then don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. And then, Dino, share the streamyard.com/Facebook so we can see who's actually leaving the comments. Do you guys care if we dive in real quick into like what SB9 is?
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's SB9?
So SB9 in the state of California allows you to build an additional dwelling unit in your on your property, regardless of what the zoning is. So it's in the state of California. It's a Senate bill that happened, right? SB being a Senate bill. So it's all throughout the state of California. Doesn't matter what the zoning is. You can legally build a ADU in your backyard. So you can turn a garage into an ADU or build a free, brand new construction ADU. SB9 also allows you to build a junior ADU depending on the city. City does have some requirements. So like City of Upland, I'm building an ADU there now. They're only allowing 750 square feet. That's it. I can't do any more than that. Right. But
that's still a big ADU.
It's still a great ADU, and it's by the hospital, so I can do traveling nurses.
Yeah.
Right. So the SB9, I'm calling it like the gold rush of real estate in California right now.
Yeah. Way to add instant value, right?
Instant.
What's the typical multiple? Like if I'm going to spend,
that's a good point,
$300,000 to build this thing, what's the multiple? Is that $1 million worth of value? Like, is it worth it?
Easy. Well, let's take Upland for an example. I paid $400 for it. Rehab is $70,000, and then to build the back unit's $200,000. So I'm $270, count fees and everything, call it another $50,000, right? So I'm $310 all in plus $400. So I'm at $710. The ARV on that is $950 on a good day. Maybe, I would say $1 million. Let's just go $950 to be conservative. That's an easy burr. That's an easy burr where I'm able to cash flow right away, depending on what I do with the property.
And how much did the ADU add to that 950 to $1 million?
So regular, let's just take if I just rehabbed the house and sold it, $600,000. So what is that? $350,000, $400,000 of equity. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the issues we have in our market, because I've looked very closely at this, Adrian, and the city of Fresno actually has like pre-made plans where you can go and everything's done. They're supposed to fast track everything. You can walk right up over the counter, buy all that stuff and go. But it's hard for us here in this market to make the math work because it costs us, let's just say $200 a square foot to build.
Right.
And we're not going to get more than $250, maybe $300 a square foot on the resale value. Right. So is this something that you think is just like for these more expensive markets like SoCal, where you can still keep your construction cost at that $200 a square foot, but you're getting $400, $500, $600 a square foot on your appraised value? Or how do you guys figure out whether or not that's a good deal?
Yeah, absolutely. And really what we're buying it for, right? If I'm able to come in on a deal and get it 150 under, and I'm able to see what I can do on the ADU play, it makes sense. But I've had a few deals like that, Jason, where we've gotten and the purchase doesn't make any sense. By the time I factor in construction, by the time I factor in what it's worth, we're still leaving $200 in the deal, only to make $1,000 a month, if we're lucky. Yeah. And that doesn't make any sense. So it is finding that right deal. I don't know if it's necessarily like per market. I would say it's just really finding that right deal, because I'm sure in Fresno, you guys can find a killer deal, call it 40 cents on the dollar, 55 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar, where it may make sense. Yeah. I'm personally only in the San Bernardino County. That's mainly where we're doing these, in Orange County. So I think it's a little bit of a different market. So I don't know enough to answer that question fully, but I would say on the front end, I've had multiple deals where it just didn't pencil out.
Is there anything specific you need to look for in the zoning, like of the lot? Does it need to be zoned like anything special for multifamily or development, or is this work with just single family residential house and everything's ready to go?
Yep. Doesn't matter what the lot is. Doesn't matter what the house is. Doesn't matter what the zoning is. We have a residential multi-unit one where we're actually able to get away with building a total of 7 units on. And that's a completely different dynamic. We're able to build 7 units on that because of the density in the neighborhood. So
that's what I wanted to bring up. Who's Josh Burrell? I keep pronouncing Josh's last name wrong, but he's doing one in San Diego where you can put like 14 units in one.
Right.
Just because they're like, hey, we just need more density,
Yep.
more density. And they just gave him essentially the green light. Is that under the SB9 stuff too?
SB9 helps protect you. Well, I want to say protect you. It helps you build an additional ADU. Like I'm getting away with building a junior ADU from that, just the fact that SB9 is in place. So we got away with 6 units with the junior ADU. So 7.
So we got, I'm I want to give a quick shout out to Juan Bustamante here.
Juan is the man, dude. Yeah.
I don't think I have spoken at
bro.
an event in California without seeing him there. And he's got to be one of the biggest supporters of not only myself, which I got to give him love for, but like anybody in the community. Like he's just an incredible supporter. I gotta say, dude, when we go speak at like Kansas City at the meetups we're scheduling, or
we may have to fly one out just as a thing.
There, yeah. I was about to say, if he's there, dude, we gotta like send him on vacation or something. You know? But another question to tie out the SB9 is: are developers still buying around 10% of what a new build sells for when it comes down to evaluating?
On a developer play, I'm not too sure. We don't really look at it as a development play. We're looking at more as a I'm not looking at it as a development play.
Kind of like more of a value add with the ADU, right?
Yeah, more of a value add.
Here's another question. I've run into companies charging $300 a square foot in San Diego to build. Doesn't surprise me.
That's crazy.
There'll always be someone more expensive.
Always.
When it comes to construction.
And I'll address construction real fast because I know, Jason, you touched on this. For us, my partner, he has a construction company, so we get away with building at a little bit of a lower cost per square foot, and that's another tactic that we need. Another tool in our toolbox that we need is having somebody that can build at a lower price per square foot. Because you're right, you come in at, for instance, the Upland deal. If I was paying $250 a square foot, or $250 a square foot, that makes 0 cents. I'm not making any money. There's no way. I'm negative by the time at 300. There's no way. There's no deal, right? So it is really important to making sure whoever is building it is able to build it at the right cost. So go make those relationships with your contractors. Go make those relationships with the architects, with the people that can help you on the front end.
Everybody that I see that's doing this at a high level, I want to say almost literally all of them keep construction in-house. I have yet to find somebody doing this at scale where they're subbing it out and paying a premium to a GC and can still make the numbers work, even in a market where you see more of this type development. So that's a good nugget for people that are doing this. Like if you're going to hire it out, it may be tough, and you may need to go out and just sub out all those trades in order to keep your costs down. What does it do to your time frame, Adrian? I know it's going to vary by county and plan check and all that stuff, but like if you buy something like this Upland deal, right? It's got the house. From just flipping that house, how much more time does it add to build that ADU in the backyard? Like, what are we looking at? Is it 12 to 18 months or shorter than that?
I would say 9 to 12 months.
Damn, fuck, that's fast.
9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on it, right? If you're on it. Now,
guys are probably all over the city, I'm imagining too. Yeah, right. Just
all over the city. Now, my buddy Eddie, my partner in this, well, he helps my builds, and then he does his own builds too. He's the one that actually started before SB9 was a thing. He now has it in with the city. He's getting it done in 6 months, 7 months, but he has an in with the city, right? So little bit of a different play. We have no in with Upland, so I'm gonna just say 10 months, right? If it gets done, if I'm able to get plans back in 6 and 7 and we're able to build and get it done in that time, great. But I'm gonna figure that for at least 4 to 5 months, I'm gonna be negative. Now I'm gonna be able to rent the front unit out. I'll be able to get cash flow on the front unit. I don't say cash flow, at least pay for most of the payment, right? But I'm still gonna be negative those months. But the upside is big.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, I'd love to kind of dive into your story. I know the title of this episode is making $300 as an agent, $300,000, which is a lot of money to make as an agent, to $5 million as an investor. I don't know, which hat do I want to wear? Agent hat or investor hat. So I'd love to kind of start where you came from, how you got into the real estate game, how you had vision for becoming an investor, and kind of what you're doing now, what gets you excited. Love to know how you transition, from TV as Mario Lopez to now a real estate investor, Adrian Hernandez. So
let's go, baby.
You're a good looking guy, man. You're a good looking guy. You guys are
too much, dude. You guys are too much. So I got into the business at a very early age. My mom was a real estate in mortgage, and my dad was an agent, hop back and forth between being an agent, a broker, and a lender. So I've been around it all my life. I was TCing when I was like a kid, like straight up 14 years old doing TC work for my dad, helping my uncle file his payroll and input things into Excel. So I've been around the game for a while. I graduated in 2008. I'm originally from Rancho Cucamonga, Fontana area. We're in Orange County now. And when 2008 hit was the year that I graduated. So as you guys know, market was crashing. My whole idea, I always had a dream to go into real estate. I was like 16 years old. I created a plan. I was moving to Orange County. I was going to sell real estate at Orange County. I was going to own a brokerage. Like this was what I wanted to do as a kid, right? Then the market crashed and my parents completely talked me out of it. They're like, absolutely not. They're losing their ass. Everyone's losing their ass, as you guys know. So they talked me out of it and I went into firefighting. So went into EMT school, started working, helping wildland, doing different, going to different trainings and just experiencing what it would be like. I hated every moment of it. I remember going one day doing a ride along and they made us scrub brass on the fire truck for like 6 hours, dude. I was like, what am I doing? If this is being a firefighter, I want nothing to do with it, right? So long story short, I remember going to one of the tests. I was driving to one of the tests. I don't know if it was an EMT test or a fire test. I forgot what I was doing. And I just realized halfway through it, I'm like, dude, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like 19 at the time. I'm like, I'm not doing this. So turn the car around and immediately just start taking on jobs. So I go to a dealership. Fun fact, I've had about 22 jobs my entire life. Like I was really good at interviewing. So I would go interview, get a job, and then quit like 2 weeks later. Right. Figure out what they were doing. I would get bored and quit. Then I would go to I worked for GNC, Starbucks, 24-Hour Fitness, Red Brick Pizza, all the local pizza spots, like at least 4 pizza spots. I don't know. It was just something I enjoyed doing. So I got into what did I do? I went into the car dealership. From there, went into credit repair. And at the time, my uncle was having a meeting. He was doing this meeting. He was doing something for mortgage. And he had this broker come out, started talking. And you guys know when you meet like somebody that's doing what you want to do, you just gravitate towards them. So I gravitated towards what he was doing, offered to go work for him. And my interview was to go door knock 1,000 doors before I was able to pretty much like hang out in the office. Like he was like, hey, if you want to be here and learn, you need to go door knock. And I'm like, well, what's door knocking? He goes, go to this neighborhood, pass out these flyers, but you're not going to pass them out. You're going to knock on the door and ask them. You're going to read them this script. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, all right, cool. So grab the flyers, go door knocking. 4 or 5 days go by. I finally get done. I come back. And he's mad. He's like mind boggled. He's like, you didn't really do that. I'm like, no, I really did. And he's like, well, did you get anybody that wanted to sell? I'm like, well, yeah, there are a few people, but I didn't know what to do. So I just hand him the flyer and keep walking. Because there was no training. It was just go. So he saw that, immediately brought me on. And I was his assistant for a while. I was assistant for like 6 months. And then I transitioned to be an agent. I was working under my dad's license at the time, got my first deal doing an open house as an agent. And my wife at the time, my wife now, which was not, she came in, she was taking over my assistant position. So that's how I met my wife. She got hired to take over my position. I was training her in, power of proximity, right? Because a lot of people are like, Adrian, your wife's 5'10", you're 5'5". How the hell did that work? How did you do that? You're brown, she's white. How did that happen? And I'm like,
tall kids, baby. Tall kids. You're gonna have some tall kids. Don't worry about
it. Thank God. Thank God. So that's how that happened. And then got my first deal. And within the first 3 years, I was the #1 agent in the office, banging expireds and for sale by owners. So I took the Mike Ferry approach. My whole business has been built upon calling expireds, door knocking expireds, cold calling for sale by owners, door knocking for sale by owners. So my schedule was pretty cool. As an agent, I would wake up at 4:30. I was at the gym at 5. I was in the office by 7, role playing from 7 to 8. From 8 to 8:30, getting my list ready. And from 8:30, I was on the phone. So I was calling expireds for sale by owners, doing that till 11. From 11 to 1 o'clock, I would go hit the doors. So I would go out, I'll go hit the doors. I would come back. I didn't really believe in a lunch, so I was always eating as I was working. I would come back, do my follow-up, get back on the phones, and in the evening, I'll go do an open house. And I did that for 3-4 years straight until I was the #1 agent in the office.
Dang. So what did that do for you? I mean, do you think like that was looking back now, do you think that was the best way to do it, that you shouldn't have done it any other way? Or do you think there was a better way for you to get started as an agent?
I think there was, but for me, I needed to go through that. I needed to know what it was like to fail. I needed to know what it was like to get told, go F yourself 1,000 times over, to get the door slammed in your face. I needed that. I need it. It put some really tough layers on my skin to where now when I go through that, it's like, dude, it doesn't even faze me. I don't even think about it. Right. And I'm sure you guys can attest to this. It was like callous on my mind. And so I personally needed to go through that. I needed to go through those, I'm thinking I'm getting 4 or 5 expired listings to, oh shit, you ain't getting nothing, right? To 2 or 3 escrows. And then, hey, no, nothing's happening. So I had to go through that. And I struggled, for anybody watching this, I struggled for a long time. My parents did not help me at all. They did not help me. I did not go into the game with the book of business from my mom. I didn't get referrals from my dad. I didn't get anything. They didn't give me anything. I had to go out there and figure it out on my own. So, I was living with a buddy at the time, renting a room, and the whole struggling aspect, right? We've all been through it, right? Trying to figure out what the hell we're going to eat, how we're going to put together some money for some BRC burritos, right? That's literally like what was in my mind at the time. But I really needed to go through that.
So what was it about going from like being sexy firefighter, saving cats, and being on the calendar, the annual calendar, to like that wasn't for you and you wanted to go do mortgages, right? Is that what that guy was doing that you ran into? He was doing mortgages?
No, he was selling real estate. I always knew I wanted to get into real estate. Always.
Okay. So what was it about that you were just said, this isn't for me, as opposed to let me go sell real estate? Is it because your background before your parents were doing that?
Yeah. And it was always a dream. And when I was trying to be, I don't even want to say trying to, when I was hallucinating to become a firefighter, the whole entire time in the back of my mind was that vision I created as a 16-year-old. I had an English teacher had us write out a vision letter without knowing how powerful this was. Now I know. Thank God bless her heart, Miss White. She made us write out a vision letter. And that vision letter was me explaining how I'm waking up at the beach. I walk to an office. I have a whole crew there. Like, I don't even know what I was saying at the time, but I remember me selling real estate at the beach. So as I was going through this process, it was in the back of my head, like, Adrian, you know what to do. You know what to do, right? But I wanted to make mom and dad happy. I didn't want to see me go down the wrong trail, until I realized this is not about them. This is about me. And I need to follow that vision that I have, that dream that Adrian had at 16. He needs to follow that regardless of what his parents are saying.
Yeah, dude, I love and I think a lot of people that are watching this show will breeze past the part where you said, I just had my head down and I was in the trenches for 4 years straight, getting beat up on the phone, getting beat up. And all of us on this call have some variation of that story, right? And we can look 100%. Back and say, maybe there was a more optimal way for us to do it. But I love when you said, you know what, that was what I needed, dude. And I think all of us need that. And I think when we try to give advice to newer investors that are struggling, they just are not willing to do that dirty work, dude. And that's the thing that I will attest to, that like, it's those years at the beginning that allow me to deal with all the problems that we come with now, dude. Cause you have to callous yourself, dude, to realize that there's going to be obstacles and problems that you come with. And the problems only become more difficult as the business increases, dude. So if you can't deal with getting told no by a couple people over the phone, how are you going to deal with it? Like Adrian's got 10 projects. These are going sideways. Lenders need money, bro. You're just not ready for it, man. So I think that's awesome, dude. I love that story.
One thing I realized too, like a lot of that, why you probably had to go through it, it's part of maturing too. Because everyone matures at different levels. Like, dude, I was just at an event this past weekend I was speaking at. There was a 20-year-old on stage speaking with me, giving inspiration and talking about how he's had this success in social media, like infinitely more successful than I was at 20. And he's just more mature than I was, so much more mature, the way he carries himself. So like, I think some people will see the young early success and others will turn a blind eye, like you said, Jason, to the people who have to put in the work and just get that callous, like you said, Adrian, because everyone matures and has success different. And you've got to figure out what works for you. If you have success quick, great, build on it. If you got to put in the work, then hey, it's your time to put in the work.
Well, Adrian, you're pretty young, aren't you? You're only 32.
32. Yeah. Damn. 32.
That's
right, bro, you're still 32 and crushing it.
No wonder you look so handsome.
Right? Bro, face looks
Hold on, I didn't catch that. It cut out. What'd you say?
Face looks great. Hairline's intact.
Damn, I got called 45 the other day. So thank you, Strat. Appreciate you, dog. That's funny.
Bro, what did your parents show you? Because one thing that's really underestimated is like how big of an impact great parents can be on your life as far as work ethic.
For sure.
Right. So like what did they show you that like helped you get through that hard time? To where like a lot of the times I just hear my dad saying like, don't be a bitch. Right. Like we just work hard. All we do is work hard and you'll figure it out. So like what did your parents show you that really helped you get through that time?
Yeah. I remember when my mom started in mortgage, she was working late hours. I remember we would go to the office and I would sit in the office till 8, 9 o'clock at night. She would do processing at the same, she was processing her files and doing the, more, this was back in the day when computers weren't as great as they are today. But I remember she would sit there till 8, 9 o'clock at night as a new lender trying to figure it out. When we moved from, I was originally born in LA, and when we moved from LA to Fontana, my mom transitioned from being a nurse to getting into mortgage. So she went through that period also, that 5-6 years. And I got to actually be there as a kid in the office and witness this. So that was big. And my parents would always tell me, you know, hey, while you're here, go do something, you know, go ask the owner if you can clean, right? Or go do this. So I would go to the owner and be like, hey, do you guys want me to clean the office? Is there anything I can do? I remember filing at a young age, cleaning the office at a young age. So it was them, not just me being in the environment, but them also pushing me to go do it. Big. You know, like, hey, go ask. We may need some help. Go ask. You want to earn $25, $10? Go ask.
I did that same kind of stuff in my parents' office. Whether it was a Saturday morning, we went into the office and, you know, my dad or mom, you know, tidied up some of the finances or did some prep work for the next week, or we cleaned something, or like you said, I'd go in on a random time and have to file something. Like that kind of stuff really plants a seed in you to understand, like, this is what it takes. Like I gotta do the extra work. I can't just clock in and clock out.
Well, and it's normal, right? You normalize it in your brain to where, like, this is just the way things are done. To where other kids' normal is just nonsense, right? That's why all these people coming into the industry, really into business, they think they can put in this amount of work. Adrian had his head down for 4 years, no money, grinding, and like, yeah, I'm number one in the office after 4 years.
Right, and I think social media is kind of, am I allowed to cuss? It's really F things up.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
That's really fucked this whole process that we have to go through, because so many people make it look like it's an overnight thing, and they don't. I mean, each and every single one of us have hours in trenches, right? And I think if they can understand that, it would make their journey a lot easier, because I just understood it. I just knew this is what I had to go through. And I had to learn how to have fun while I was really, really bored doing the things that I really didn't want to do.
That's right.
So,
yeah. So, dude, you make it, like, you're number one in the office. You're presumably doing well, right?
I literally thought I made it, Dean.
So, but what was that feeling like? Were you feeling fulfilled? Were you happy? Or did you have this feeling of wanting more? What made you look for more?
No, so I remember feeling like, oh shit, you did it. Like, damn, all right, cool. Like that really worked. And then it was like, all right, well, what else can I do? Right? Like, if you did that, all right, what else can we do? And that's when the dream of coming to Orange County came to life. So that's when I went and shadowed Kevin Sturdivant, Case Real Estate, good buddy of mine. I went and shadowed him. And mind you, I was selling, I sold a couple of $1 million houses up there, but not that many, right? 900 grand, 800 grand, $1 million. Like, to me, that was a big deal coming from Rancho Cucamonga. Well, you go to the beach, you're talking about 3 million, 2.5, your norm is $1 million, right? So I had to get over that mindset. Coming from the Inland Empire, there is this mindset that you can't sell in Orange County. You can't move to Orange County. That's especially in the Mexican culture. It's like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, who do you think you are to go live with them? You know what I mean? Like, who are you to go live next to Dean, right? so for me, I had to get over that mindset. I had to challenge myself. And that's where, you know, I went and shadowed Kevin, and I got to see that it was no different than what I was doing. The conversation was no different. If anything, it was more laid back, because I was always in a suit with the tie. I was a Mike Ferry guy. I was a huge Mike Ferry guy. So white t-shirt, you know, What's up, Pat? Good to see you, bro.
Shout out to Pat Hilton, the most
go,
dangerous man in the game.
That's
He
right.
said, Strat Daddy looks like he's headed to a yacht party in Miami. He does, right? I love it. Love
so
you,
I had
Pat.
the white button up. I had the the tie. And I remember walking into a listing appointment. We're in Laguna Beach, and Kev goes, stop. He goes, take off the tie. He goes, take off the tie. Take off the damn tie. And I'm like, why? Take off the tie. He goes, we're not. He's like, this is different. He goes, just vibe out. Be cool. He's like, all is good. So I remember walking into this.
You even sound like him, dude. You sounded like Kev right now, dude. Yeah, he's the man, bro. Yeah.
He's the best. So I remember walking to this appointment and seeing how he did his thing. And I'm like, dude, I can do this. I can do this. So we put together a plan, and we were just going to come sell houses in Orange County. We were not planning to open a brokerage. And then the owner of the company I was working for, he's like, dude, open a brokerage. He's like, take the name, go open a brokerage. We got you. We'll support you. So we went and we opened a brokerage. It was not what I wanted to do, but we opened a brokerage. And I have to say, guys, it was the most, I thought the trenches was hard. This was really hard because Orange County is about 3 times the amount from where I came from as far as your average living expenses. I didn't realize my toll road bill would be as much as my freaking water bill or, one of my high utilities from where I came from. Dang. I didn't realize all this. So we went back to struggling. I wasn't really producing. We were building this office. I had cash coming out of my pocket. I went from being an agent to being a recruiter, manager, and sales trainer, right? Literally overnight. And again, I put myself back in the trenches, and I'm like, all right, there's only one way to do this. Get back on the phones. Know what you know how to do. Get back on the phones. So I would call real estate agents for 4 hours every day saying, hey, Jason, this is Adrian. Just calling to know if you happen to hear about our advanced coaching program. No, you haven't? Great. I would love to borrow 5 minutes of time. Are you available today or tomorrow for lunch? And I was doing this every day for 4 hours, just calling agents. And I built up a good office, 56 agents. We got within 3 years, we were crushing it. And then I realized that I was turning into a big asshole. I wasn't who I was. I was not fulfilled. There was nothing about it that made me happy. And I was on the verge of losing my wife. I was on the verge of losing a lot because what I was doing was not in line to what I really wanted to do. It was cool. It was sexy. It was what someone else wanted, but it wasn't what I wanted. And that changed who I was during that time. And I learned a lot. I was really grateful for it.
So I see a lot of people that go from high performing solo producer, right? And then the next leap is either leading a team or opening your own business. And those are 2 different skill sets, right? Because you're the one that's in control when it's on you. And a lot of people can perform well under that pressure, but it's another thing to transfer your skills to 1 or 5 or 10 other people and then get them to stick and get them to perform, right? So talk to us about some of those challenges, man, because I think there's a lot of people on here that are high performers that are thinking about, okay, what's next for me? And it's not just as easy because now it's not just controlling you. You've got to get other people to produce, and that's a different ballgame.
And now you're responsible for other people too, versus just being responsible for yourself. And that was big, for me. I also, again, I'm being a big Mike Ferry guy. Orange County is not about Mike Ferry. Orange County, you don't call expired listings. You don't get into the office at 7:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, practice your scripts, get on the phone till 12 o'clock. This is a Tom Ferry world out here, right? Everybody's farming, marketing. So I had to literally influence people to get out of what they were doing, to get into what they were doing, to what they needed to do, which was get on the phones, call expireds, call for sale by owners, go door knock. So I forgot this. At 19, I went to Tony Robbins and I dove deep into Tony. So I'm a big Tony guy. So I've taken pretty much every single influence program from Tony. So that really helped me with my influence to help agents. But it took me, Jason, 2.5, 3 years for me to get there, for me to understand that, because I was so used to the sales that taking off that sale and going from salesperson to coach person, that's a whole new ball game. I have to really learn how to connect with somebody. And I struggled for 2 to 3 years. I struggled really understanding the personality type that was out here, right? Really understanding that, because I'm fast paced, move, let's go. Yeah. And now here, so slow down, get to know them a little bit more, right? And I mean, I just get a headache, just slowing myself down, putting myself back in that position. Right? It's just not how I operate. So it was a big learning curve.
It's got to be a challenge too, right? Because you've already felt like, hey, man, I've made it, right? I've done well. And now it's got to feel almost like a step back because you're recreating yourself to a certain extent. Yeah.
For sure. Huge step back with this whole intention that we're going to build this company and sell it. And for anybody who ever has that hallucination, I want you guys to realize it's a hallucination. It takes you forever to build a brokerage up to actually sell it. Do you know how much production you need to do that? I'm not saying it's impossible. It's very well possible. But mind you guys, I'm in my 4th year of being in the business. I'm not even a seasoned agent. And I'm thinking I'm going to go like, there is a process to this. And I didn't understand that, right? I was young. I was 25 at the time, right? I'm 25 at the time thinking that I can do this, right? Only to realize that there's a season that I have to go through. There's some things that I have to learn first before that happens. So
where did you learn most of your leadership stuff? Because I am so big on leadership and culture, because I think that is really what will make or break you if you really want to get to any type of level of significance.
For sure.
Is being able to lead a team and, like you said, influence them and build company culture, agent culture.
Tony was a big help. And then the broker that I worked for, I saw him do it with our office. And I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from him and the people that he introduced me to, like Ty Leon Guerrero, Joe DiRaffaele, I talked to Ty, Alex Layer, Mike Ferry, Shaddy Bazzi. All these guys were big leadership guys that they took their time, and because they saw, this is important, guys, when you have other people that are bigger than you, that see you putting in the work, they will invest the time to help you. And those guys saw me putting in the work. Those guys saw me every day at the office, 9 o'clock at night. I remember one of the coaches walking in 9 o'clock at night. I'm bawling my eyes out one night because I had leads hanging up on me. All my friends are going out. And I remember bawling my eyes out because I'm on the phones. And he goes, the reason why you're in this office and the reason why you're crying and the reason why you're on the phone is why you will be a multimillionaire versus all your friends out there having fun right now. Now, never forget that, because I remember wiping the tears off my eyes and I just kept dialing.
Yeah, you said something there that I think resonates so much with Jason Stratton and myself, is because we always talk about how can you add value and how do you get the attention of someone who you admire, who you look up to, who you want to be like. And dude, one of the ways that we always talk about adding values, it could be bringing a deal, but dude, if you're putting in the work, that is inspirational to someone who is further ahead of you. And they want to help you get further. They want to bring you up if they have that abundance mindset. So you said it right there. Like, they saw the work you were putting in, and that just inspires everyone else around you, especially the people in front of you. So that was a huge part of what helped you get there.
It's very obvious to guys like us when somebody comes around, and we can tell if they've put that work in. I feel like, you know what I mean? Because you can't fake that, dude. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, the fact that you were there in that office, it may have taken a little bit of time to actually get noticed, but like when you get around that high performer, we can see, dude, and we know. And it becomes very easy for us to pick and say, like, this person's worth investing in because I see something in them that I had when I was at that stage of the game. You know what I mean? And so that's just a huge nugget, man, because so many people approach us and they're like, hey, like, how can I do this? Can I work for you for free? Can I do this and that? And I'm going to notice, like, if I can see that you've actually put that time and effort in. Have you had that season in your life like Adrian had, those 3-4 years? And it's very obvious. You can't fake that, dude. There's no way that you can manufacture that. It's either you've done it or you haven't.
Yep. And put them on the phones and you'll find out real fast.
That's it.
Right?
If they're hesitant and they don't want to pick the phone, I already know that you haven't made calls. If it's immediate, like, let's go right now, then I know that you've been putting in work, dude. It's very easy.
It's true. So, dude, you're at this point in your life. You're not liking who you are. You're frustrated with where you're at. Now, you might be living in the place that you dreamt of going, right? But it's not really what you thought it would be. It didn't turn out the way you wanted. Where do you go from there? How do you pivot out of that?
Yeah. So at the time, this is important, guys. Make sure y'all file your taxes for those of you listening. 2000. So I get in the game 2014 or 2013, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I decided I don't want to pay my taxes.
Wow.
So I get a massive.
Just because
I'm young, and I heard someone say if you don't file, you don't necessarily need to pay. And
Bro, I did that with credit cards. Someone told me you don't have to pay your fucking credit cards. I was like, okay, same fucking shit. Oh my God.
I did the same thing too. So, anyways, I decided to say, screw you, IRS. I'm not going to even freaking acknowledge you. And they found me. So this is about the time that, you know, we're 3 years into the business. We're 3 years into the brokerage. It's gaining momentum. I can't buy a house if I wanted to. So I'm renting. We're renting. Can't buy a house. I'm in debt. And long story short, the brokerage just starts falling apart. The main guy that was in charge of the brokerage, which was in Rancho where we started, there's some things that happened, and long story short, it just started trickling down through the whole company. So I lost practically all my agents overnight, like literally all my agents overnight just vanished. And I knew at that time I was not doing this again. I was not doing this again. I was not where I wanted to be financially. Mentally, I was screwed. So I knew I had to get out. So Nick Ramirez was working for me at the time, and he was helping me find deals. I was flipping. I started flipping in 2015. So my first flip came from an expired listing. I was still in Rancho Cucamonga when I did my first flip. I was an agent at the time, so teamed up with another agent. We flipped it together. So I was doing flips on the side here and there. Nick would help me find flips. Well, I remember going to him and I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And he's like, dude, we're already doing flips. He's like, we've done a couple of wholesale deals. He's like, let's just go all in. He goes, let's go all in on investments. What are we doing? And the moment he said it, it was just like the light bulb. It was like, yes, that's the answer. You're freaking 100% right. And I had already, knew it in the back of my head. I knew that was the next step. So I said, all right, that's it. We're all in. I sent the resignation to the owners of, that were part owners with me. Pretty much saying, you guys, I'm out. Within 10 minutes, I was escorted out of the office by security. I had to get all my shit out. I was served with the lawsuit because I broke contract. Now, keep in mind, guys, these are my boys. At my bachelor party. At my wedding.
No.
Boys. Like boys.
Wow.
Since I got into the game till the day I decided I don't want to roll with you anymore because I want to go do my own thing. So this is important for everybody. Sometimes we're involved in circles that those circles aren't meant to be with us always. They're only there with us for a short period. And we have to learn to we have to learn to separate those people from real friends to just business friends, to just business people that we associate with. And the day that happens that you decide to go do your own thing and they don't support you, from the jump, they weren't the right community. That wasn't the right group of people. Right. So it was right then and there. I knew that was not the community, and no wonder why I was acting and being the way I was. I was not in the right core group. I was not in the, my community wasn't the best. So long story short, I leave. They eventually dropped the lawsuit. Everybody at the office, I was friends with all the agents. They're giving them shit like, dude, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is your boy. There's no way you're suing them. So they dropped the lawsuit. They figure out what they need to figure out with the office. And at the time, I take Susan, who's one of the agents. She comes over, and we open a regular real estate office, Real Living, and she becomes the broker. I become the owner, and we start at the time, which was the perfect home buyer, and we start wholesaling houses. This was in 2019.
Dang, that's 2019.
Perfect home buyer?
Yeah, perfect home buyer in 2019. So we get an office in Dana Point in the harbor. Susan just happened to miraculously find it. I'm a believer that, if we close our eyes, visualize something, and we go to work, things will start to happen. I had visualized that office years ago. When I was in Rancho, I had visualized that office without even knowing it. And I've always had this vision of what it would look like walking into this office. And it's crazy, guys, because she goes, hey, I'm working out of my house at the time. We're trying to find office space. So I found the perfect location. It's in the harbor, and they're only charging $2 a square foot. You're not going to believe it. It's not even on the market, but if we want it, it's ours. So I show up, and Dean, it's exactly what I had been visualizing like all this time, like to the T, baby, like to the T, like where it's at, the views, everything. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, wow. God has a sense of humor, right? He has a real funny way of putting things into perspective and making things work for you. So we opened the office 2019. 2019, guys, we did within the first year, we did $1 million in net profit. The second year, we did 2.2. The third year, it just kept growing. We did 2.2. Then we did 3.2. what was it, 3.5, 4.2. And at the time, it was all wholesaling. We've all been wholesaling, fix and flip. And at the same time, I opened a brokerage. So I mentioned Real Living. Real Living, we shut down in a year ago, and got bought by Berkshire Hathaway. So now we own Berkshire Hathaway in Dana Point Harbor, and we have the wholesale company to back the real estate company, and then the flipping company to help facilitate everything that goes on inside of Berkshire Hathaway.
Dude, that's
So
huge.
how many deals are you pushing a month
10.
to hit 5 M's?
On average 10.
But you must be doing rips, bro.
Yeah. We have we have one deal, 198 grand. We have one deal, 140 grand. 90 grand. Yeah, assignment fees.
Wow.
Where are these assignments? Are these all in Orange County?
Yeah. So Yorba Linda, Temecula, Tustin. Tustin was a text message. Let's see. Santa Ana, $80,000 text message. PPC, Yorba Linda. That's the 198 one.
What are the price points on those, Adrian? Are they million plus, multiple millions? So that way the listeners have a sense, right, of like what price point you need to operate in order to pull off a spread like that on an assignment.
So Yorba Linda, we got under contract at 1.2, selling it for 1.4. Yeah. By the time we have little fees, we have like $3,000 in fees. So we'll be at 198.
Wow.
Tustin was 800 grand. Actually, this is a cool one. Montclair was 200,000 with a 240 ARV, and we are making close to 200 on that one. Probably a little bit over 200.
Those are incredible rips, like you said. So I'm curious, just before we dive into like picking apart the business, because I really want to get in the details there and what's helped you become successful on just like an upward trajectory like that. What was it that took you from that place of frustration, not really, being where you wanted to be, to put you in that place, the right time, right place? God had this perfect location to drop you here and said, this is where you need to be. Do you think it was just like believing? Do you think it was just you sit back and just let it happen to you? Do you think it was like, I just had to keep running through wall after wall until it appeared? Like, what was it to get through that? Because I think a lot of people will get stuck and just like obstacle after obstacle, and they say, well, I'm just going to wait till it happens, or I'm going to wait for my lottery to hit. Like, what was it for you to make that become a reality?
Yeah. The first one was just pure perseverance. It's just pure pushing past everything that was in my way, right? The brokerage, let's go back to being an agent. The moment I moved out here, the moment I started failing, the moment I started really struggling, I remember borrowing money from our mother-in-law because we decided we wanted to have a crazy wedding and spent all of the remaining money we had on a wedding. Then I go borrow money from my mother-in-law to keep us afloat. Like, I remember that. And then I remember losing money right when we decided to open up the office. I was so concerned about me getting sued that I trusted somebody in Arizona with 250 grand, a contractor who vanished, right? I had so many different roadblocks that could have stopped me. When I kept running and I would stop and I'm like, I have no money and I'm $250,000 in debt and I have to find a way to still sell these properties. It was still pushing past that and just knowing, as long as I continue moving forward, something great will happen. And then getting around the right people. So this is important. I went to Tony Robbins Business Mastery. Tony Robbins Business Mastery in 2019. I met, how the fuck am I blanking on his name right now? Chris Crone. Chris Crone was sitting in the front row. He was part of Lions. I was sitting right next to him. I happened to get a front row seat. I was sitting right next to him. There was a blind attorney that goes to Tony's events. He's a freaking stud. He goes, you need to meet Chris. You need to meet Chris. He introduced me to Chris. Chris is like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, go open a wholesale company. Just in the same line what we were thinking. He like made an emphasis on what we were thinking. Go wholesale, open the wholesale company, start fixing flipping more, dive more into wholesale. He was the one that was like pushing. So that was we all have a belief. Every now and then we have to see someone doing it to really believe, like seeing these guys do it, right? You guys see Jason do it, Strat do it, Dean do it. That gives you more belief that you can go do it. I had not met a wholesaler or an investor prior to meeting Chris. When I met Chris, it opened up a whole new door, because then I met Carlos Reyes. And then I met all those other guys, Don Rutherford, and I was able to see that this shit was possible.
Yeah.
I was able to see that if I took the same thing I did in traditional real estate and put it here, I would make a shit ton of money based on what these guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian, I see a lot of agents because I'm licensed too. And so I've got a similar trajectory that you have when we tried to build out a team and just, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then we transitioned and pivoted a few years ago and just went all in on the real estate side, on the investing side. What is it? Was there a struggle? Because I think a lot of agents have a hard time just wrapping their head around like, okay, it's just an assignment and it's a one-page deal and it's this, right? So like, what advice would you give to the agents, especially now when the number of overall transactions has basically compressed and gone down to nothing? And a lot of people, even if you were a high performer, they're not making the money that they were used to, right? Like, how do you help some of those people get over the hump, the mental hump that they have to get to if they've had that agent hat on for too long?
Yeah, I think we need to understand that being a real estate agent is nothing more than being an agent. You're not a business owner. You can't even really count yourself as a real estate professional, because you're saying that you're a real estate professional, but you don't understand wholesale. You're telling me you're a real estate professional, but you don't know anything about subject to financing, or you don't know anything about seller financing. So as an agent, what we all have to realize is there is a whole nother game to this. You're playing in a game this small compared to a game that's this freaking big. You are missing the biggest picture of them all because we're so focused on what our broker, what our owner, what the broker, what the manager, and what your real estate coach is telling you. How do I know this? Because I was part of all of the real estate coaching, and they don't ever talk about wholesaling. If anything, they make wholesale look bad. They say how negative is, how it can get you into trouble, how it's fraud, how you're ripping people off, and all of this negative nonsense that does not belong there. We have to understand the broker is made to make them money. They're not going to talk to you about wholesale. They're not even going to talk to you about buying your own deals because they don't make money from it.
That's right.
Understand what business you guys are in. Understand who's making money off of you. When you can understand that, you can understand that they're not going to teach you this. They're only going to teach you this because they want you here. It's up to you to go find this.
Damn.
I know, that's it. That's it. We got to end the interview after that one. Yeah, dude, that was good. Dude.
Oh, that's fire.
Yeah.
I get passionate about it because I see, as you see, Jason, real estate agents struggle day after day after day. And if they just open their fucking mind to what was out there, they would never have to struggle with money. They would have completely different problems. But the whole open house work with buyer over and over and over again, and then you complain that you have no money, that's your fault.
It's always been strange to me, dude, because I started and I was investing full time for 3 years, probably flipped 50 or 60 houses before I ever got my license. And then when I got into the agent side of the business and I started working out of a brokerage, I was like, why would you take a deal and just pass it to your client? You know, I want to look at the deal first. You know what I mean? Like, I want to buy it. Let me see if this is a good enough deal for me. And if I can't buy it or it just doesn't work for some sense, then I want to provide it for my client. Right. And so it's just weird, the thought process. And it's always something that struck me as funny. And I agree with you. I feel like all you have to do is follow the money. The reason why you don't get the support from the broker, the manager, or the owner is because there's no money in it for them. And so just understand the business model. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have like any gripes with that. Right. Just know what you're signing up for when you go to the brokerage and understand what you're getting. And that's what it is. And just follow the money and you'll understand why you don't get this training out there.
100%. And I get it. And there's no disrespect to the brokers. Yeah. None at all. I get your game, right? But I think if you're a broker listening to this, I think you can go much further teaching your agents how to become wealthy. I think they would stay with you a lot.
How to make real
retention.
money.
Let's talk about agent retention right now, right? Because right now everybody's freaking out, especially in our market, because agents are bouncing around and doing this dance. This always happens when things become scarce. Don't you think that you would retain more of the people if you gave them the skills and actually invested in them and encouraged them to do the things that most of them really got into the business to want to do anyways, and they just got sideways and never got back on track. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And so it's just weird to me, right? That the agents would put up with that and the brokers are not forward thinking enough to say, hey, let me invest in my team. And not only will I retain more, but I'll probably attract more and it'll be better for my bottom line.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
They'll probably team up and do deals with the broker.
Hell yeah.
Have the broker open up the door and say, hey, this is what, so I can go on and on about this, but I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, dropping some bombs right there. So you realize how you got through there. You persevered. You got to this point. You've had this trajectory. What led you to that kind of success? Because that's no easy feat. Like, you're in a new place. You're in a tough market. You're now in an even bigger market because you're doing stuff in Orange County. You're doing stuff East LA. You're still doing things all over. Like, what allowed you to get that success?
Yeah. It all comes back down to the cold calling and door knocking from when I first started. So now our business model is a little bit different, where it's more inbound leads, but we did all that just based off of strictly cold calling, strictly text messaging, and door knocking. So the same way I built the real estate business, as far as going out and cold calling and knocking, was the same way we did wholesale. So the only difference was, back then I was like going to Vulcan 7 to get expireds. So I met geniuses like you guys in the game, and they taught me how to go and pull lists. So how to go out there and pull a niche list, how to pull different lists. So once we learned that, we just started hiring a bunch of cold callers. So every paycheck we would get, Nick and I never took any money the first year. Every dollar we made, we put back into the business. So we would get a check, we would go buy data. We would get a check, we would go hire a cold caller. We would get a check, we'd go hire another cold caller. So we got to the point where we were at 8 cold callers, and we had 2 texters in-house. We were using Batch at the time. And Batch at the time was on fire.
Yeah, this bro. Batch used to be like insane.
You guys remember that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So we had like just hit that wave. Cold calling was sparking off. The list was different. That started sparking off, and then we started texting. So that's literally how we went from, doing 1 or 2 wholesale deals that I think that year we closed just 98 or 90 wholesale transactions that first year, strictly off of cold calling and text messaging. There were 2 deals that came from door knocking that were in Orange County.
I want to revisit real quick. The business needs to live, and you didn't rob the business of money, right? Because everybody at the beginning will make a big wholesale check, then they go take it all. Like, bro, you got to reinvest all. I 100% believe reinvest it all back in.
Right.
Because it's going to compound on itself and you'll just make more money. That is still investing. You don't want to take any money away from it because your business is going to starve. And I see a lot of people do that the wrong way. They do a deal, but then they go to screw off all the money.
Yep.
Right. So if you keep it in-house like you did, bro, it'll keep compounding on itself, just like you can see right there.
Yep. And Nick and I just made a commitment early on. We're like, dude, we got linked up with Carlos early on. We saw Carlos spending $100,000 a month in marketing. So in our mind was, we need to get to $100,000 a month in marketing. We spent $100,000 a month in marketing. We're making $2-3 million bucks. Let's go. That was in our mind. Okay, let's go. How do we get there? Now, I don't recommend that. Okay. Don't do that. Okay. Be strategic about it. See which channels are working the right way. Double down. We literally just went all in. We wrote Carlos a check to join his coaching program, and we just went all in with every dollar we had, but it made sense. At the end of the year, we had a 12x return on text messaging. We had a 10x return on cold calling. Right. And then that second year, that's when we started to try different marketing techniques. So we jumped into PPC. We jumped into mailers, which didn't work very, very well. We jumped into RVM. And the second year is when we started mixing up our strategy. We weren't doing a lot of agent deals because this is really important. We didn't do a lot of agent deals our first year, but the second year we started taking advantage of agents. I won't say taking advantage, but we started taking advantage of the relationships that we made.
Yeah.
And what we started to do is let all the agents know, hey, you guys come across deals. If you have a deal that you need help moving, let us know. So the second year we ended up doing like 51, 52 just agent deals, of agents sending us deals, teaming up with agents to help get those properties sold. So the relationships that I built those first, 6-7 years really came to life on that, 2021 year.
And how did you pitch that to agents? What was the value proposition to those agents? Were they getting the commission? Were they getting a part of the profit? How did you get them say, yes, I want to go to Adrian. He's going to wholesale this deal or flip this deal. However you pitched it. What was that like?
So we would split it 50. We still do it to this day. We just split it 50-50 with them. So we say, hey, if you guys get a deal, we'll help you get it under contract. We'll help you figure out the number and we'll sell it for you. And we'll just split it 50-50.
Heck yeah.
But it has to be a deal. Don't bring us, don't bring us wood. Don't bring us something that's on the borderline. Has to be a deal. They're motivated. They want to do something. You need a little bit of help. We step in and we'll help them. And then we'll notice is we started teaching them what to do. They started doing it and bringing us more deals.
Yep. Now, it just comes from a place of abundance, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I think we all do something very similar with people that we JV with. And it comes from a place of, we don't believe that these opportunities are scarce. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's like, not only will we do most of the heavy lift for you, but we'll cut you in on half the profit because we know that that investment in that relationship is going to pay back 10x or 100x just from showing them how to do it, man. So I love that. That's a huge nugget for everybody that's there. Cause I think at the beginning, most people are so scarce, dude. Like they don't want to, they're like, well, I'll give you a little bit. You know what I mean? And it's just like, no, we want to do more. It's not about extracting the most that we can out of that one deal. I want to do 10 or 20 or 30 deals with you. So let's lay the framework for that, dude. That's awesome.
The more I give, the more I receive.
Hell yeah.
It reminds me of Thatch. So I left this out. I got hooked up with Thatch at a very young age. So I met Thatch my second year of selling real estate. And Thatch, for my entire life till this day, beats in Burr every day to my head, right? Beats in Burr. And I didn't understand what he was saying, guys, until like 2020 when I finally started to really listen to Thatch. But Thatch would always, and sorry, Thatch, I love you. Just got to learn the hard way, brother. I love you. Thatch would always tell me, Adrian, you are directly compensated, and you are compensated directly into those that you serve selflessly. The more people you serve selflessly, the more money you're going to make. So he had this thing called the gift, where you would give without any expectation of receiving anything in return, and just go about your life like that. And you'll be surprised what happens. So I remember the moment I really started knowing what I was doing, I was always helping agents. I would be the first one out in the bullpen. When I had time, I would lead a role play. I would find somebody who needs some help them comp a deal, help them with their listing presentation. So I just kind of took that on as a young agent, and it really compounded as I got older.
Heck yeah. This person asks, who do you sell them to? So you got those deals under contract from agents. You pitch them on that. You're going to your normal cash buyers. You're selling them the cash buyers you built relationships with, right?
Yeah. So Nick was in charge of Dispo. So Nick built a buyer's list, and we built different buyer's lists. At the time, we were getting them from Buyer Sonar. And then, Investor Lift came out in the future. But a lot of it was straight from the MLS, finding local buyers. And then a lot of the agents I knew were started to flip. So we sold a lot of deals to agent flippers that I knew.
Awesome. Well, dude, what an incredible story, man. I mean, it's going to be similar to each of us that are here talking to, of just perseverance and pushing through and finding what works for you and finding what's fulfilling. And dude, ever since I found you online, I've just been inspired by you. Love your energy. You weren't joking. Your office that I went to and did the podcast on your podcast is just like a dream of a location. I mean, you couldn't dream up of a better place. Being in the harbor right there, you're staring at boats, you're staring at the ocean, like you're in it, dude. Like that's an incredible way to live. Like you're pulling up and you turn into, here's Dana Point Harbor. Like, come on, dude. Like that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's Strat Daddy vibes. That's what it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does your team look like now, bro?
Yeah, so our team's much shorter, or much shorter, much leaner than it used to be. So in 2019, we started to grow the wholesale company. We wanted this big, giant office, right? So we started bringing on a bunch of people, and we started growing the wrong way. So we had like 17 cold callers. We had 5 acquisitions guys. We had 2 in Dispo. We had 2 VAs, and we were running really heavy. And we ran heavy up until last year. And we had marketing, we finally hit the $100,000 marketing budget, right? It was not sexy. That shit hurt every single month watching it come out of the account. Right. And, it was interesting because we ended up doing less deals with more people. And I believe it's because we grew the wrong way. I don't think we did it as strategic as we should have. And so we grew super big. And then last year we realized we needed to condense down. So we got rid of our marketing changed too, right? Our marketing changed over the last year. So as you guys know, cold calling in Southern California, right? Unless they are really skilled, it's going to take a lot, right? Not to say that the X isn't there, but it's going to take a lot. So what we did is we got out of cold calling. We transitioned into pay-per-click ads. So now we're running tons of PPC and we're doing commercials. So we launched commercial ads. So we're doing commercials throughout Dana Point, throughout the Inland Empire, and we've completely changed our marketing. With that, we changed our in-house sales team. So now we only have one acquisitions guy. We have Nick, we have myself, and we have our TC, our transaction manager. We just brought on one person to help us with agent MLS deals, and that's it. And we're doing more deals with us 5 than we were with a crew of 25.
20 something. Yeah, that's wild.
We took our 100K a month down to, we're at about 55 a month right now. And we'll probably hover between 50 and 60 until we get rid of some expenses that'll fall off in the next few months. It's funny, when we went from 100,000 to 60,000, our profit jumped through the roof and the amount of deals we were doing jumped through the roof. Because as I noticed, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but as the market started to condense, what you were spending, you weren't getting back in return anymore. You would spend 65 before to get 12 or 15 deals. Now you're spending 65 to get the same amount of deals than you were spending 40. And I had to realize that. So we took all of our marketing budget down to a sweet spot. And I was talking to Darren over at Seller's Advantage, and he goes, it's interesting what happens when you get lean and mean. And he goes, you start making more money, right? Because all of us wants this big, giant office that we can walk into with all these people. But you guys, what I've learned is that's a big ego thing. Now, if you got it right and it works, cool. But for the most part, it's an ego thing. I got 15 cold callers. I got 5 acquisition guys. But
I want to see my name on the sign outside. Yeah, dude, it is. Yeah.
But how much money are you making? How much money are you actually taking home every single month, right?
Yeah.
And so we had to learn that the hard way, and we shrunk our team. And eventually we're going to, regrow a sales team. We're going to grow it the right way. We need to get out of South County. We're in the wrong position to bring salespeople on. They walk through that door, they see the ocean, they look around, and they're like, "Yeah, you're paying me more," right? So we need to get
really.
Oh yeah,
they're just coming after you.
It's a struggle, dude. It's a struggle for sure. So we got to go inland. We're going to go inland when we do decide to build the sales team, but we're enjoying what we're doing right now. We're doing 10 deals on average every month, give or take. Last month we did 9. I think we'll do 12 this month. Well, next month we'll see what happens. But we're making more money as a 5 unit than we were as 15, 20.
How did you guys doing any novations?
No novations. I'm petrified of novations because I own Brookshire. So I'm just afraid of,
so you're
yeah. And maybe you guys can help me with my mindset there, but I can't seem to understand it.
I got to talk to you about that. I'll talk to you offline about something. We just implemented it in our business.
Sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Yeah, you go ahead, Jason.
How was the transition to development? No, it's all good. It's all good. So like now you've transitioned to development. And I think a lot of people at the stage that you're at, right, they see that like development as kind of the next leap that they want to make, right? Like we found our niche, we can wholesale, we can flip, we know how to manage contractors, we know how to do that at volume, right? So we want to go play with the big boys and we want to do some ground up projects. So was it the relationship with the contractor friend, that partner, that it made sense, or what? Like how did you segue into that, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so Thatch is, as you guys know, Thatch does a lot of ground up. He'll do a lot of ADU work. So I've always been looking at what Thatch is doing. I've always wanted to do it. We actually tried to do it prematurely 2.5 years ago and lost our ass. And when I mean lost our ass, like, big time, lost like 198 grand, not including all of the front end work that I don't even want to add up.
And time.
Right.
And time. And then the person, I feel bad for the person, who brought us the deal. I feel bad for all the time he invested. So we did it prematurely, and I had always listened to Thatch, saw what Thatch was doing. And then the moment that my partner Eddie started doing it, it just brought it to life. So I got to see real life. I got to see him do one. I got to see what it rented for. I got to see the numbers. I got to walk the project with him. And then after losing on our first time, I now know what to do a little bit different this time around. But I'm not going, I'm not going full overboard. I'm going to do 2 projects. I'm going to be super, super conservative. I'm going to do them the right way. And then once I'm done with those 2, then I'm going to go to the next one. I'm not going to dive into 5 developments right away. I'm not going to go take on all this right away because full transparency, I'm still learning what I'm doing. I don't got it all figured out yet. And the last thing I want to do is get myself into 5 deals, this market change, and I'm running around like a dog with the tail in between my legs.
Yeah. Yep. Amen, brother. We got a couple more questions here that came in. So one question was, which VA service do you use? I'm looking for one. Do you still have cold callers? Do you still use it?
No, we got rid of all of our cold callers. For cold callers, I would recommend, it's Scott Ootz's company out of, blanking.
Google it.
I've had, I'll tell you guys about cold callers. I've had experiences with the ones in California. We've had experiences with other ones throughout Arizona, throughout, I'll be cautious how I say this, and throughout overseas. I worked with one company, and this is not any plug in any way, shape, or form. It was the highest form of cold callers that I've seen. It was the highest, when I say connection rate, quality was Strat's company, hands down, tenfold,
Hey-o.
a million times over. I had some unfortunate run-ins with cold calling companies. Strat was the last company that we used before we ventured off and went into commercials. For cold calling, Strat's company, hands down, all day long. I bring up the fact that we worked with Arizona and some guys in California because we learned the hard way. We probably spent 80 grand before hooking up with Strat.
If you're in LA, it's brutal.
Losing our money.
If you're in LA, you were going to spend significantly more than anywhere else in the country just to get like a good deal. And then the only reason Adrian could make it work is because he had an actual brokerage. Cold calling in like LA is, you got to be a man and you got to write big checks.
Yeah, it's hard, guys, and just be careful with who you get linked up with. I'm pausing because I don't want to. I'm not one to talk bad about anybody, and I never will. So just be very, very careful with who you guys link up with. I always recommend Strat's company for cold callers. For VA services, like just VA and maybe Strat, if you have another site, I just go to onlinejobs.ph and just kind of find my own little cold callers there. Strat, do you guys do full-blown VA cold callers?
We do full-blown VA services. That's all we're doing now.
Oh,
like cool. We aren't even cold calling heavy anymore.
There you go.
Like we just do full-blown VA services. Great websites for you, like Online Jobs, Upwork, different Facebook groups. And then it really is, if you have a budget, outsource. If you don't have a budget, then you need to learn how to lead a team. And it's great education for you to learn how to kind of train cold callers, and eventually you'll train a sales team.
Yep. I do want to, just because I did say something earlier, I just want to clear it up. I did mention Scott Ootz's company. I did work with them prior to Strat's. They were good too. Have nothing bad to say about them. Strat was the last company that we worked with that was the best. So just wanted to clear that up in case anybody worked with Scott that happens to hear this.
Cool. Another question here. When you were doing $100K a month in ad spend, what did it bring? Was the multiple there? Was it not worth it? What'd you find?
So 100 grand a month brought us 1.1 at the end of the year. That's what we ended up getting up to.
Okay.
And that's what we got into in Rev?
In Rev. Yeah. In Rev.
So you were spending 100 grand and you only got
and we made 1.1 the first year. And then, mind you, that 100 grand was a accumulation that first year. We didn't just start spending 100 grand right away.
Oh, I was like,
we built up to it. So I would say like towards Q3 of that year is when we started spending 100 grand. We ended at 1.1 that year. We carried the 100 grand over. And last year we finished at 4.2 at 100 grand on average. Keep in mind
that's a big check to write.
Yeah. Bro, it's a hefty check to write. You can travel like Jason though, if you use use those points right.
That's right.
That's all I do. All of my free travels through Amex.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I can't say enough about, again, just the inspiration you bring. I know you're always dropping crazy amount of knowledge and inspiration on your social media. So again, guys, if you want to follow us on social media, go to @DeanRogersRealEstate for myself, go to @JasonPritchard, @StratDaddy, and @Adrian Hernandez. Adrian, do you have any famous last words you want to share for the listeners?
I actually, I'm going to take this from a guest from my podcast. Choose your guys is hard. Choose your hard. No matter what you choose to do, this shit's going to be hard. If we do this, if we go out and we knock on doors and we cold call, it's going to be freaking hard. We spend $100 grand a month on marketing, it's going to be hard, right? Or you can be poor and that can be very hard too. Or you can have no money and that can be very hard too. Or you can struggle every day and work with buyers all day long, and that's going to be really freaking hard too, right? So choose your hard. Figure out which hard you want. And I personally rather have it really, really hard while I'm driving a Ferrari and going to visit Dean and Strat and Jason. I rather have that hard than the hard of not knowing how I'm going to pay my bills. So figure out which hard you guys want and double down there. Understand no matter what you do, it's going to be hard.
I can tell based on your story, you figured out which hard you wanted based on mentors along the way, man. I mean, that helped clear a path for yourself. So that's that I think that's a story that a lot of people of success are going to have as well. So, dude, thanks for being on. Absolute pleasure. I know a ton of value for all the listeners. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Appreciate you guys.
Later, boys.